you need a mail-in ballot, if you need a specific, like as an example, I'm in the White House and I have to send a ballot to Florida, that makes sense. So if you need it for some reason, or if somebody's not well, that's one thing. But when you send out 7.7 million mail-in ballots, there's forgeries, there's frankly duplication where they print ballots on the same kind of paper with the same kind of machinery and you can't tell the difference. And they send in thousands and thousands of fake ballots. And I tell you what, this nation can't be going down that path because it's a very dangerous path to go down. Now, we just won a big election. You probably heard about this one in California, California 25. Mike Garcia, he just won a very big election, and that was ballots. And it was a very sort of the opposite. They won the case for ballots. He was doing very well because they're ballots. You see, he was way ahead in an area that, frankly, was not expected to go Republican. First time in 22 years that it's happened. They flipped from Democrat to Republican. California, the first time in 22 years that it happened. And they actually put machines in there in the last 3 days because they thought, meaning the Democrats, because they thought that might happen, but it didn't. But that was a case, that was a positive case. But mail-in ballots are very dangerous. There's tremendous fraud involved and tremendous illegality.
But there are many Republicans, secretaries of state, that are also moving to mail-in ballots because of the pandemic and people are scared to go vote.
Well, we're going to see how it all works out. But they had 7.7 million applications sent out. They have, in the state of Nevada, they have a tremendous drive-in where you just mail in your ballots. You can't do that. You got to go and vote. People have to check you. They have to see that it's you. They're supposed to look at you and check you and make sure that, I mean, when you get thousands of ballots and they put them in a bag and they just bring them in and people start counting, who knows where they come from? It's so obvious. I mean, frankly, they should have voter ID. That's what they should have. You really want to know what the country wants. The country wants voter ID. Otherwise, it's going to be subject to tremendous illegality and fraud.
What fundings are you considering withdrawing from Michigan? From Michigan. You threatened to keep funding away from the state of Michigan. Which funding?
Yeah, well, I have very specific funding. I just spoke with the governor. We didn't discuss that. We really discussed more the topic at hand plus the dams breaking. So we didn't, but we'll let you know if it's necessary. You'll be finding out. They'll be finding out very soon if it's necessary. I don't think it's going to be necessary because mail-in ballots are a very dangerous thing. They're subject to massive fraud. And by the way, I don't want to put anybody on the spot. If you have anything to say about it, Asa or Laura, but how can you do that? You have people signing ballots. Who knows who's signing these ballots? They have a ballot. They pick the ballot. They take them out of mailboxes. They go around and accumulate them. They harvest. I guess the word is harvest them. And it was especially prevalent in California, and it's just not a fair situation. Do you have any comment on that?
Well, I do. Of course, Arkansas supported a voter ID law.
Good.
But in terms of the election in November, there's a lot of discussion about how we can make the vote accessible if there is continued worry from a health standpoint. And we want to be able to use no excuse absentee voting as a way to do it, but it's still a person-to-person identification of the individual versus the mail-in variety that, as you said, can be manipulated. So we're looking at that, but we believe in the identification of the voter.
I think just common sense would tell you that it's massive manipulation can take place. Massive. And you have cases of fraudulent ballots where they actually print them and they give them to people to sign. Maybe the same person signs them with different writing, different pens. I don't know. There's a lot of things can happen. No, if you can, you should go and vote. Voting is an honor. It shouldn't be something where they send you a pile of stuff and you send it back. Another thing that happens, a lot of people in certain districts, this is historically, a lot of people in certain districts don't ever get their ballot. They keep calling, where's my vote? Where's my ballot? Then election day passes and they forget about it. And that can happen in the thousands. I'm not saying it does, but it can. It probably has.
Just to follow up on that, sir, are you concerned about the message that you're sending of saying you may withhold funding from Michigan when it's also going through these issues with the water?
No, I'm not. I'm not concerned at all. We're going to help Michigan. Michigan is a great state. I've gotten tremendous business to go to Michigan. Michigan's one of the reasons I ran. I was honored in Michigan long before I thought about. I was honored as the Man of the Year in Michigan at a big event. And I got up and I remember so well, I spoke probably 5, 6 years before I even thought about running for president. And I got up and I spoke and I said, why are you allowing them to steal your car business? You know, we lost 32% of our car business to Mexico, and a lot of it came out of Michigan. And I said, why did you allow that to happen? And I posed many questions to Michigan that night. I think it made it quite an impression. And now we have those same car factories that are coming back, except in a brand newer and bigger form. So I think we're going to do very well in Michigan. I guess we just got a poll that's very good right here, a very good poll about how we're doing in Michigan and other swing states and just generally in the election. But I won't show you. I'm sure you can get it. I won't flip this over. Everyone is saying, could you flip it over? But no, I think we're doing very well in Michigan. Very great place. And I'll be there tomorrow. And I guess it's tomorrow, but I'll be there tomorrow, the Ford plant. And I'm maybe going to do the double stop, or I'll go back on the dams. But we have to take care of that problem.
Mr. President, with 4% of the world's population and 30% of the outbreak, what would you have done differently facing this crisis?
Well, nothing. If you take New York and New Jersey, which were very hard hit, we were very, very low. And in terms of morbidity and in terms of, you look at the death, relatively speaking, we're at the lowest level along with Germany. And Germany, us, there could have been some smaller countries too, perhaps. I'd like to ask you maybe about that, if I could, Deborah. We've done, amazing well. I think the biggest thing we did is stopping the inflow from China into our country. And Deborah was a big supporter of that. I mean, in terms of how important it turned out to be. And so was Tony Fauci. They were very, very, Tony said we saved thousands and thousands of lives. That was a great decision that was made, and that was made very early. Please, Deborah.
Yeah, I think it's always confusing, and particularly confusing to the American people when we don't emphasize the size of our country. We're the third largest country in the world. But every country has a different experience with this virus. And so you have to adjust everything to population size. And so when you look at Spain and Italy, our attack rates to this virus are identical to other countries that have experienced the type of epidemic that we have experienced. And so every country is different. That's why you really need to always report data normalized per population. And then you look at the mortality by population, and it's true, we have, compared to our European colleagues, some of the lowest mortality, about half of Italy and Spain. And so I think it's really important that, and then these two states represent what we've been asking states to do. In Kansas, they found 50% of their clusters were in specific meatpacking, nursing homes. They identified their clusters, they found their clusters, they took care of those clusters, and that was 50% of all of their cases. In Arkansas, 80% of the Arkansas individuals have recovered with less than a 2% mortality. And so it's really important. We're a big country, but each state is different. But as a country, we're different than other countries around the world. We'll be asking questions later about, why were certain countries completely spared? And I think that's always a question that we have. Epidemiology is like that. But if your country has never had significant infections, you can't compare it to a global number. There's multiple countries in Africa where there's really almost no outbreak, and then South Africa has a very different outbreak. So each of these outbreaks are different, and that's why it has to be really granular to understand it and to respond to it. And you can see these two states have done exactly what we asked them to do. Find cases, contact trace, contain outbreaks, and ensure that their citizens do as well as possible. And that's what these states illustrate.
And just to finish your question, though, so we're in that category along with Germany as the lowest. And I think that's it's a great honor. And that's including New York and New Jersey, which have had they had a very high number. So if you include New York, New Jersey, do everything. If you don't include New York and New Jersey, we're just about in a class by ourselves. Now, with all of, China, you tell me about it. Do you think they're right numbers? Do you think China's giving the right number? I don't think so. Take a look at the numbers. They gave numbers that were so low. I mean, I saw more problem on television than they were reporting, just by looking at a picture. So I'm not including China in any numbers because those numbers weren't correct, obviously. That's been easily shown and easily proven. But no, our people have done a fantastic job. Deborah, I always talk about the fact that our testing is so far advanced that we're close to 14 million in testing. 14 million. And would you say China's at, not China, if you would say Germany would be at maybe 3 or 4?
Yeah,
3?
I can tell you some right
And
now.
South Korea's at a number. You tell us what that number is.
Well, we've been way ahead of South Korea for a long time.
Way ahead of everybody.
Germany's done 3 million tests, Italy 3 million tests, UK about 2.7 million, Spain 3 million. And I think to us, it's not just the number of tests, it's how those tests are utilized.
Quality.
And I think in both of these states, you can see they focused testing where they knew the outbreaks were, and now they're proactively testing in nursing homes where they think the outbreaks could go next, and finding the asymptomatic cases. I think we've only learned in the last couple of months how many asymptomatic cases there are. And I think a lot of people at the beginning wanted to approach this like flu, and most of the people who get flu are symptomatic. So really, I think our thoughts have evolved, our understanding has evolved, and the states have evolved with us, really working in partnership to really change how we look for cases. And I think that's really remarkable. We're not waiting for people to get sick to find cases now. And what you're doing with testing and what you're doing with testing in a proactive way is the way we're moving as a country. And because we can do nearly 14 million tests, we have the luxury to be able to be proactive in our testing now.
But when you do 14 million tests, you're going to find more cases. If instead of 14 million tests, we did 3 million, like Germany's at about 3 million, South Korea's at 3 million, and they've done a very good job. It's not a knock, but we're at almost 14 million. We're going to be passing 14 million very soon. So you're going to have more tests. If we did 3 million, everyone would say, oh, we're doing great, in terms of cases. We're going to have more cases. If we did 3 million, maybe that's what we should have done. I said, if I would have done 3 million, they said, oh, they have very few cases. The United States is doing well. We're finding a lot of people. By doing testing, you're finding people. So we're doing 14, Germany's doing 3, South Korea's doing 3, and I think they're number 2 and 3. So we're way ahead of everybody. But when you do that, you have more cases. So a lot of times the fake news media will say, there are a lot of cases in the United States. Well, if we didn't do testing at a level that nobody's ever dreamt possible, you wouldn't have very many cases. So we're finding a lot of cases, and we're doing a great job once we find them. Okay, thank you very much,
Bryce, let's
everybody.
go. Come on, guys.
Thank
we're
you.
finished. Bryce, let's move this to guys. Bryce, let's go. Thank you.
How does it compare on a per capita basis? Obviously, the United States is much larger than a lot of these European countries.
Yeah.
How does our testing compare per capita?
Sure.
to those
Do you want to
countries?
do that, Deborah? Per capita?
Yeah, our testing now, we're almost up to 4%. So some of the European countries are at 4 to 5%. And I think our goal is to ensure that we can find the asymptomatics. And I think that's really our focus right now, working with every state to really help them identify where these clusters came from historically, and then proactively going for those clusters, identifying them early, and finding the asymptomatic individuals before. And no one's intending to spread the virus. I always want to be very clear about that. Asymptomatic people don't know they're infected, and so together we're really working to find them. And I think it's a unique challenge, and I think together we're really making progress.
And when you say per capita, there's many per capitas. It's like per capita relative to what? But you can look at just about any category, and we're really at the top, meaning positive on a per capita basis too. They've done a great job. Please,
I heard
Caitlin.
yesterday at the Republican lunch that you were complaining about the CDC and the delayed rollout of testing. Do you
No,
think that,
I wasn't I don't know who gave you that. It's fake news.
do you think Robert Redfield is doing a good job leading
Yeah,
the
I do.
CDC?
I do. It's fake news, Caitlin. Fake news. Therefore, you can report it on CNN.
You didn't complain.
It's perfect for CNN.
You didn't complain about the CDC?
No, not at all.
Do you
No,
think they
no,
did a
no,
good
no.
job with testing at the beginning?
Well, you're asking me a wise guy question. At the beginning, and again, I didn't put CDC there. CDC's been there long before the Trump administration came in. But they had a test that was was something happened to it. It was soiled. It was soiled and or foiled, but it was a problem, a short-term problem. It lasted for about a week, and then they got that solved. And frankly, the end result is, and this was done outside of CDC. This was done by private companies and people that we got involved. And we've done, you look at the numbers. I know you don't like to talk about the numbers and what we've done, but yeah, for the first week, they had a problem, CDC, because something went wrong with one of the tests, and that can happen. I'm not blaming CDC for it. No, I think he's done a very good job. I think that my whole team has done a very good job. I think and it's not really my team. They were there. CDC's been there for a long time. There's some great talent in CDC. I deal with them. So now what you're saying is, okay, we've done 14 million tests, so we can't hit the president on that. So let's go back to the first week. CDC has done, I think, a really good job. No, and I didn't say anything bad about CDC at the meeting. We actually had a very good meeting. The Republican Party, the senators, I think virtually everyone was there. I think you had 53 there. And we had a great meeting. We're looking to do great things for the country. We're helping people with stimulus. We're getting money to people. They need it, and we're going to open up very big. We're going to open up, I call it transition to greatness. That's what it is. It's a transition to greatness. And when Larry Kudlow tells you the numbers, those are really surprisingly good numbers this early in. I mean, we're doing very well. I think it's going to be something special. These are two governors that we invited. They've both done a fantastic job. One happens to be a Democrat. One happens to be a Republican. But I think I've worked out, you've been on most of those calls, Laura, and I think we can say the Democrats have been as nice about what we've done as the Republicans. I mean, it's been terrific. And, Laura, I know she will speak her mind, and so will some of the others. And if she was unhappy, she'd be letting you know. No, we've done a really great job. We've gotten along great with Democrats, the Democrat governors, and we've gotten along great with the Republicans. It's been a tremendous thing to witness, and we're doing a fantastic job and you have been fantastic, Deborah, I have to say. You've been working 24 hours a day, and I hope people appreciate what you're doing, but I do. Thank you very
All right,
much.
friends, let's go. Come on, Caitlin, we're done. Let's go.
Thank you.
Friends, let's go. Are you done? Caitlin, come on, let's go. We're finished. Hey, girls, come on, let's go. We're done.
I think the regimen finishes in a day or two. Yeah, I think it's 2 days.
Okay.
2 days.
All right, let's go.
Thank you, sir.
Let's go, please.
All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in here at Golden State Times. President Trump meeting with Arkansas Governor Hutchinson and Kansas Governor Kelly at the Oval Office. So if you guys enjoyed our coverage, make sure you give it a thumbs up and you share it on social media. Thank you so much for your help and your support. Also, the press secretary had a press briefing earlier today. If you guys missed it, it should be coming up on your screen, or it should be at the top of the comments, on the comments below. I should put the link on there. Make sure you go and check it out. Thank you so much, folks, and I'll see you soon. Peace.